Hello and welcome back to my channel. Jacob here, and today I'm going to be talking about Sharpe's Tiger, which is the first book in the Richard Sharpe series by Bernard Cornwell. I do not have a book to hold up for you guys this time because I did read most of the series at this point as an ebook. I think I'm on like book 11 or book 12. Fun fact to point out, the book series were not written in chronological order, so definitely kind of keep that in mind when you're reading it, because I've definitely found some things where I'm like, wait a minute, did they not know this already happened? And it's because I've read the books in chronological order, not in publishing order. So while Sharpe's Tiger is technically the first book in the series and is detailing you know, how Richard Sharpe basically moved up the ranks in the military at that time, it does not happen in publishing order. I think it's actually like, it was written way later than a lot of the other books. But it's still, I think, the one you should start with, and that is why I am going to put it as book 1 in the title up above, because, yeah, I think that's how most people read it. I don't know anyone that's really reading it in publishing order unless you were reading the books back in the 90s as they were coming out, which I was not, because I was like maybe 6 years old probably. But anyway. So, Sharpe's Tiger follows Private Richard Sharpe, who is stationed in India in 1799, and is part of the Seringapatam offensive. I cannot pronounce that. But anyway, they are part of an offensive which is trying to take this last city, which is being held by the current Tipu, who, you know, for obvious reasons, doesn't want Britain to take over his land and take over any more of India. And he is putting his foot down and fighting them to the last. And he also has a pretty good entrenched position, which is why they have sent spies into his kingdom. And one of those spies, a Colonel McCandless, who works for the East India Trading Company as an intelligence officer, has been captured. And not only has he been captured, but he had vital intelligence when he was captured. Now, what does that have to do with anything? Well, Richard Sharpe, doing what he does a lot in the series, and is something that either makes the story really great or becomes very annoying in the books. It just depends on the book. It's different every time. Comes to the aid of a damsel in distress. In this book, it is a lady named Mary, who is, I think they describe her as being half Hindu and half British. But she's in a dire position as a Sergeant Obadiah Hawkswell, who I think describe him as having as being syphilitic. Anyway, he's pretty crazy. He makes a lot of stuff up, and then he quotes made up scripture, which becomes important later in the series. But he is a very malicious, very mean person, and also a very murderous person. I mean, they describe this at the time, and Richard Sharpe goes in pretty good detail about this, but just the fact that a lot of the foot soldiers in the British military at that point were people that couldn't do anything else. They were people like him who were basically orphans and thieves, and were given the choice between either facing the gallows or joining the ranks. And I don't know if it goes into detail whether or not Obadiah Hawkswell had the same choice, but it would not surprise me if he was a criminal before joining, because he definitely has a bunch of side hustles, which he thinks he has a right to. One of those is him trying to sell Mary to a pimp who works outside of the where the soldiers are all bivouacked. I'm pronouncing that wrong, but we're going to roll with it. They're all camped at. And of course, Richard steps in, and for basically his concern, he gets framed for something that he didn't do and is facing 200 and some lashes. Well, luckily for him, this is when Colonel Arthur Wesley comes by, who is another pivotal character in this book series, and decides that he's the perfect person to try to rescue their spy. And I'm not going to spoil the book for you guys, but that basically is the basis of the plot. This book is Richard trying to go undercover to help them siege this city. I liked this book a whole lot. I'm usually not too huge a fan of straight up historical fiction unless it's like an old western, or if it is I can't think of the word for it, but it's like historical fiction with a magical bent, right? Like, it's not straight up historical fiction, it's like a retelling of possible historical fiction, but a lot of things are accurate except for like one big thing. I'm sure that genre has a name, I just can't think of it right now. But this book was a lot of fun. As someone that really likes like the Warhammer 40k novels, I loved the element of a big battle happening all around them, but also focusing on a few characters throughout these battles. I like Richard Sharpe as a character because while he is described as like this big strong guy, he gets beat up a lot. He's not running and gunning. There's no god complex there, I guess is the word I'm looking for, right? Like, there at any point, besides the fact that he's the main character, he's in these situations where I'm like, oh, he might catch a bullet, or like, the stakes are always very high. And I also think the author did a really good job in making these, battles which are like with muskets where people are lined up, be really interesting and even kind of scary, because you're really getting in the heads of all these people's emotions. And then like even Richard's talking about like what it's like basically standing in a line looking at someone else's musket while you're reloading, but you're a professional soldier and that's what you do, right? You don't break ranks. This isn't a modern battlefield. They don't hide behind cover or anything like that. They just all stand in a line and shoot each other until one line has less men and the other line can move forward. And I thought that was a lot of fun. I also really enjoy books about sieges. I think it's because the stakes are always so high that makes it a lot of fun. Overall, I really liked this book. I mean, obviously, I've already said I'm like 11 or 12 books in at this point. I think there's 27 books in total, 27, 28 total in the Richard Sharpe series. I will say one thing right now, if you start reading this series, it is a very common trope in all of the books that Richard Sharpe will fall in love with a woman who is like the subplot of the book, usually throughout it, and either she is with somebody who's no good or is facing some dire circumstances which are no good. And Richard will fall head over heels for her and then lose her by the end of the book. Usually not to like death or anything like that, but usually because he's lowborn. He's not really going to climb the ranks very fast. There is a cap in the military at this time. You have to pay for a commission. So if you don't really come from a rich family, which he doesn't, he is literally an orphan turned thief turned murderer off the streets, who is very unlikely to ever get a commission, paid. So, yeah, he doesn't usually have the girl by the end of the book, which is kind of fun, kind of here nor there. It does get a little annoying in the later books, at least to my way of thinking, because, well, yes, I enjoy a romantic subplot. It does get annoying at this point because as he gets older, you're like, all right, man, you're kind of middle-aged now. Maybe you don't fall in love every time you lay eyes on a woman and then get everyone in dire trouble. But yeah, you'll notice that in this book as well. And if it's something that annoys you, I'm just warning you ahead of time that it is a constant theme throughout the books, at least up until book 11 or 12. Once again, I have not started the next book yet, so maybe it all changes. I don't know. But yeah, I will talk more about that as I go on later in the series, because I do plan on reviewing all the books. As I didn't see very many video reviews for this book, which I thought was kind of weird, because it is it's a best-selling series, and I think they also made like several different TV show and movie adaptations with Sean Penn. But anyway, neither here nor there. I need to watch those too. I want to finish the book series first. But yeah, if you've read Sharpe's Tiger and you enjoyed it, or have read the rest of the Sharpe series and enjoyed it and want to talk about it, or maybe you didn't like it and let me know why you didn't like it, feel free to leave a comment below. Or if you know of any book series that are like the Sharpe series, please let me know in the comments below too, because I am very much enjoying the Sharpe series and would be interested in reading similar books. But yeah, that is all for this episode. And yeah, stay tuned, because I plan on reviewing the entire series on my channel. So until next time, please like and subscribe, and have a good day.